You ever have one of those mornings where the air just crackles like the universe is giving you a warning shot, but you don't know it yet? Yeah, this is how my Tuesday kicked off. And let me tell you, by the time the sun set on Willowbrook Estates, nobody around here would ever look at a horse or a lake or a certain silver-haired HOA president the same way again. I mean, if you told me at sunrise that the quiet little ranch I bought for some peace and healing would turn into the center of a murder scandal, a neighborhood revolt, and a live-streamed meltdown watched by tens of thousands, I'd have spit out my coffee laughing. But here we are. I was out by the fence line, coffee in one hand, hammer in the other, watching my 16-year-old Sage running circles on Thunder, our rescue Mustang, her hair flying, face glowing like her mom's used to before fate snatched Emma away and left me picking up the pieces. We'd only been in this neighborhood a couple years, keeping our heads down, playing the part of the quiet folks who bought the Henderson place. Nobody here knew my real story, that I used to wear a badge, that I'd tangled with folks far scarier than HOA Karens, or that we'd come here to start over after my last job almost cost me everything. Out here, I just wanted to be Mav, not the sheriff. Just a dad with a stubborn streak, a heart still full of scars, and a desperate wish for my daughter to have a life that didn't feel like running. Let me back up a sec, because you need to picture the queen of this circus, Cordelia Blackthorne, our HOA president, a woman who could turn a potluck into a political coup. She ran Willowbrook like her private fiefdom. Picture 5'6", probably a foot taller, in self-importance, hair that cost more than my truck's tires, and a voice you'd swear came pre-installed with a megaphone. And today, at 7:30 in the morning, that voice shattered the calm with the kind of electronic screech you'd expect from a SWAT team, not a retirement community. I knew we were in for a show when I saw her striding up the main road, flanked by her squad of clipboard-toting believers. Cordelia's Angels, I called them. But this crowd, this was a mob. I counted at least 20-some recording on their phones, others holding their breath like they were about to witness an exorcism. The target, my kid, and my horse. I should have known something personal was cooking. The way Cordelia's hands trembled just so when she shouted, "Maverick Dustle, you have 10 minutes to remove your daughter and that dangerous animal from this community, or I will have law enforcement drag her away." Sage froze, wide-eyed, Thunder prancing beside her, ears pinned. I felt the old lawman in me rise up, but I kept my voice calm. "Cordelia, what's the actual problem here?" She whipped out a thick folder and began reading off a list of so-called violations. Unapproved, livestock noise, disturbances, property standards, you name it. It was like being on trial for breathing. I cut her off. "We've got every permit, every license. Thunder's a therapy animal. Ask the county. You know all this." She shut me down with a wave of her manicured hand, her voice sharpening. "Allowing a minor to engage in dangerous equestrian activities without community oversight is a liability this HOA cannot tolerate." That's when it clicked. This wasn't about rules. This was about control. Maybe even something darker. I spotted old Ezra Stonefield, our unofficial neighborhood documentarian, filming from his window, red light blinking. There was a sense this was turning into something nobody could sweep under a rug, no matter how expensive that rug might be. Inside, I grabbed my badge and the folder of every last document I'd kept since moving in: permits, licenses, land deeds, insurance, all airtight. You learn after years wearing a badge that being right isn't enough. You gotta be bulletproof, and today I was ready to show it. Outside, Cordelia had escalated. She'd gone live on Facebook, already painting me as the outsider, a menace whipping up her audience. As you can see, she announced, swinging her phone toward Thunder, "This dangerous animal has already destroyed Mrs. Henderson's roses and endangered our children." That incident was Thunder sniffing a bush once, but social media, right? Suddenly, perception was reality. I started recording too. Two can play this game. The crowd split, some nodding, some side-eyeing Cordelia, like maybe they'd been sold a little too hard. Then she dropped her supposed trump card. The regional HOA alliance was backing her, and 5 neighboring communities had signed on. Now I'd seen mob mentality before. But this was something else, a woman so certain of her power she couldn't see the ground shifting under her feet. That's when the sirens started. Cordelia's grin was pure triumph as she counted down the minutes till I'd be removed. But you ever watch someone's whole world collapse in real time? Because when the first patrol car pulled up and Officer Bradley Chen clocked me, everything changed. He froze, then whispered to his partner Marcus Rodriguez. Both guys straightened like they'd been zapped. They knew me. More importantly, they knew Cordelia didn't. The crowd braced for dramaphones up Cordelia narrating to her online fans like she was anchoring the morning news. But the neighborhood was catching on. Mrs. Henderson, the supposed victim of the horse attack, was outside now, talking to a couple other neighbors, none of them looking too impressed by the show. And then just when Cordelia thought she'd won backup, arrived 3 more SUVs disgorging a trio of HOA leaders dressed for battle and ready to back Cordelia up. Officers, I am Cordelia Blackthorne, president of the Willowbrook Estates HOA, and this man has repeatedly threatened community safety, she barked, pointing right at me and Sage. Officer Chen kept his cool. Ma'am, we'll need to speak with all parties before taking any action. Cordelia bowled right past him, folder thrust forward, demanding immediate removal and action. But see, Chen and Rodriguez weren't just any cops. They were my former deputies, and they were having a quiet debate about how not to blow Cordelia's mind by exposing who I really was. She tried to pull rank, demanding a supervisor, the classic Karen move. Chen didn't even blink. Great idea, ma'am. We'll get one here now. The voice on the radio confirmed it. Deputy Luna Brightwater, my second in command, and the toughest, straightest shooter I'd ever worked with, would be there in 3 minutes. When Luna arrived, the whole energy shifted. She took in the crowd, the live stream, the simmering tension, and cut straight through Cordelia's theatrics. Ma'am, I'll need specific documentation of these violations. Cordelia rattled off damages, Rose's noise, improper approvals, but Luna was already making notes, and with that calm cop's eye saw right through the smoke. And then she turned to me asking for my documents. I handed over the folder, and after a few minutes her face shifted, suppressed laughter, then something almost like pity for Cordelia. Mrs. Blackthorne, are you aware this land carries a historical agricultural designation that predates your HOA by a century? She asked, waving the deed. The crowd murmured. Cordelia's live stream comments soured, and the backup presidents looked ready to bolt. But Cordelia couldn't quit. She'd built her whole identity around being in charge. She wasn't about to give that up, even when Luna explained gently but firmly that her authority ended where the law began. Here's where the real twist landed. Turns out all the HOA drama was a smokescreen for something far darker. That very week, the pristine lake at Cordelia's luxury resort drained almost overnight, revealing bones and evidence tied to a cold case. My father, who'd been silent for years, finally confessed he'd seen Cordelia's father, Victor Whitmore, murder Jenny Morrison, a young woman who disappeared 20 years earlier. Cordelia, who used to go by Catherine Whitmore, had given her father a fake alibi, spent years funneling him money, and even built the resort to hide the grave. With the water gone and evidence mounting, the sheriff's office swooped in. Cordelia lost it, completely freaking out at a community meeting, live streaming her meltdown, confessing that she'd been living with her father's secret all her life. It was tragic and ugly. She'd built her life around hiding a crime, thinking power and money could scrub out what her father did. But truth has a way of bubbling up, and Cordelia's last desperate move, trying to destroy evidence by poisoning the lake, backfired spectacularly. The water-turned blood-red news helicopters circled the FBI, moved in, and her live confession went viral, finally giving Jenny's family a piece of peace after 2 decades. Cordelia pled out, led investigators to other victims, and the resort got turned into a memorial park. My dad, lighter without the burden, spent his last years teaching kids to speak up when they see injustice. Me, I rebuilt our life and tried to show Sage that truth and courage are worth more than any HOA's approval. So you ask me what justice looks like. Sometimes it's ugly. Sometimes it's slow, but it always finds a way to the surface. Stories like this prove you don't have to be a hero to make a difference. All it takes is refusing to let bullies, no matter how fancy their title, decide who gets to belong. And maybe, just maybe, the next time you see something wrong, you'll turn the valve and let the truth flow. What do you think? Was justice really served, or did too many people look the other way for too long? Drop your take in the comments, because I know every single one of you has a story about HOA drama secrets or fighting for what's right. And if you want more real stories that prove ordinary folks can stand up to power, hit subscribe, because the only thing louder than a Karen with a megaphone is a community that refuses to stay silent.